Hello, welcome to the Madison podcast. You know who I am. I am Ben Lavender, New York's favorite mortgage broker that won't be bald for much longer. I have a semi-special guest today. He's all right. He's a decent guy. He's a little bit crazy, definitely crazier than me. Mr. Jude Romano, welcome.
Woo!
Jude, kindly pretend I didn't introduce you and introduce yourself.
So I don't know this guy. I don't like this guy. And outside of this room, when he texts me, I ignore him. Jude Romano, the insurance goat. And who am I? I'm the GOAT. I'm the best, greatest of all time. So they say.
Muhammad Ali in the flesh.
Super pumped to be here with this guy. Love the energy. Kind of day, traffic. Worth coming out to see this guy.
It took you 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours from Red Bank, New Jersey.
That's good, man. He came 2.5 hours to be here to grace all of us.
Just because you're a stud muffin.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. Especially thanks to you now that I have this hat. I've gotten so many compliments in the 1 hour that I've been wearing this hat.
Really?
Yes, tremendously.
No shit.
I mean, people could just be saying that to be polite.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose to believe that's not the case.
They're scared of you.
So, as they should be, because I am tremendously large and physically intimidating. Let's start off with a question, Jude. How old were you when you figured out that you were a little
You know what? I would say when I figured out I was a little I was probably about 11 years old. Figured out I was a little at 11. Yeah. You know what made me figure out I was a little I was watching Saved by the Bell, and I cried when Kelly and Zach broke up.
I probably did too.
Yeah, that's when I realized I was a and then I put on boxing gloves and I went outside and I showed everyone what not a I was.
Let's talk about that, actually. Tell everyone about your boxing, because I've been following your Instagram. You've been doing some boxing. I'd love to spar with you if you didn't have 20 pounds on me. Otherwise, you'd absolutely destroy me. But how long you been boxing for?
So I would say, I think it's coming up on a year, close to a year. But I do want to say that the 20 pounds weight difference has nothing. Even if I was 20 pounds lighter, one shot, you're done. You. Done.
I mean, me specifically.
Yeah, you.
No, but
most people,
the beard's a little bit thicker, though. I mean, it can absorb some of
the velocity of the hook is coming in.
That's a big word for you, Jude. Well done.
Yeah.
Who taught you that? Your wife?
You're so shocked. You're shocked. That's great. I'm going to use that word a lot more now.
So this is, by the way, this is the majority of Jude's and mine, or ours. I don't know the correct grammar here. This is how our conversations usually go. So we don't even talk about that much business, except like when we go out to like a serious dinner. We're chilling. But most of it, we're just trading crazy voice notes.
We basically just on each other.
Yeah, and I think that's what friends are for.
Yeah.
So it goes well. We hype each other up. We have similar energy. I think that's one of the reasons why we get along. We're lunatics. We're absolute lunatics. And I think, Jude, something I love about you, man, is that you have a crazy passion, not just for business, but for life itself. Where do you think, seriously, like going back to, does that come from something? Is that like a family value thing to you? Where's that come from?
I never really given it a lot of thought, but I would say, naturally as you get older and more mature every year that goes by, you start to understand your feelings and where things come from a little bit more each year. But I think, I would say specifically over the last 5 years, I just have become so grateful. And I think the reason I've become so grateful over the past 5 years is just really reflecting. And I think reflecting has become something that is so important to me. And I'm continuously reflecting. I'm reflecting on yesterday. I'm reflecting on an hour ago. I'm reflecting on a month ago and 5 years ago and so forth. And, frankly speaking, I feel really grateful to be healthy, my family be healthy. And I think guys like you and I who run at our speed and run at our obsession level, we will do well in anything we do. And we will always make money and always be successful. But the ability to do that means that we have to, one, be healthy. Healthy could mean a million things. Is your mind healthy? Are you physically healthy? Do you feel good when you wake up every day? So I think without those things, you can't appreciate and love everything else around you.
I 100% agree. Going back to what you said 5 years ago. Did something happen in your life that triggered that?
Yeah. Actually, truth to be told, 5 years ago was probably, I would say, one of the darker times of my life. Found myself in a really challenging place. I think financially, mentally, struggling. But I do believe that some of the strongest soldiers go through that. And I think that's what brings us out.
The scars make you stronger, I think.
Yeah. And then I think the greatest victory and feeling is when you overcome that hole that you sat in. And then when you slowly, because you don't just climb out of it in one day. So each day as things gradually get better and better, you start to see the sunlight a little bit more. And then once you finally come out of it, you reflect and you say, wow, I can't believe 6 months ago this is where I was, and here I am now.
But you need grit and resilience in order to push through those times, right? So the difference between a guy like you, me, Shah, whoever, right? Like when we go through stuff like that, we don't fold. We keep getting up, whereas a tremendous amount of people will, especially like in the mortgage business. You got so many people, understandably, right? Because not everyone can stay in the business. Volume has gone down, but so many people are leaving, right? So like one of my favorite quotes ever is actually from Rocky, I think it's the 5th one, where he fights that younger dude from the Contender series or whatever
Tommy,
it was.
yeah.
No, not Tommy. It was when he was older. Anyway, he's like having this conversation, and this is actually my yearbook quote. And the quote, essentially, it's very long, but he basically says that life isn't about how hard you can get hit, or how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep on going and keep on getting up. And I've tried to, at least to, don't get me wrong, I haven't gone through insane struggles in my life. You know, we live in America,
right?
First world country, life is amazing, but
sure.
Doesn't mean that we don't face challenges, right? Regardless of how much money you have, actually, you're going to have some type of a mental challenge. Look at all these very successful millionaires, or like first person that comes to mind is Avicii for some reason, who killed himself, one of the most successful EDM guys of all time, right? It's arguably that the more successful you get, the harder it is. Who knows, right? But the point is that we have to keep going. We keep fighting regardless of how hard that it happens, because there's always going to be a different level, right? No matter where you go, no matter how much money you're making or how great of a team you have and how happy you are with your wife and your children, there's always something. And the key is, I think, Jude, is you just got to keep going, man. That no matter what happens, you keep fighting.
Well, those are 2 words that I literally live by. It's actually my outro on my show. And it says, as always, keep going, right? So two simple words, but yet so powerful. But I do want to touch up upon something you just shared, because for me, that was my big takeaway from what you just spoke on. The more successful you become, the harder it becomes. Right? It becomes harder in the sense where there's a lot of people that say, "Oh, must be nice, right?" Like if you go get a Bentley tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Perception is, "Oh,
Ben and a Bentley, that sounds nice."
Must be nice.
Yeah.
Must be nice, Ben. You just got a Bentley. But does anyone see behind closed doors what's going on for Ben to get to that point of Ben? People's perception just focus on the materialistic object.
So I do actually get that by quite a bit. So you know me, Jude, I don't own a lot of fancy things, right? But like I do enjoy some traveling, some convenience. So as you know, like I wouldn't say I took off the whole of December, but most of December I was away, right? I was in Europe. I got my thing done in Turkey, right? I did all that stuff. And then like a lot of people said, must be nice. And I'm like, yeah, it is nice.
Right.
You know what was also nice? When I was in an open house in a 3-piece suit in 102-degree weather every weekend for 3 years, sweating my off.
Right.
That was nice too.
Yeah.
Right. And they're like, okay. It's like, okay, yeah, you wanna get to that level where you can do that stuff. You have to sacrifice. At least I did, because for me, like this person that you know now, I haven't always been this way. I had to develop it. I was more introverted, a little bit more shy, and it requires a lot of self-development to be good at anything. Truth be told, whether you're naturally introverted or naturally extroverted, there's always going to be something that you have to work on. So even now, Jude, like before, and we've talked about this like when we've gone to dinner and stuff, in the beginning, it's very sales focused. And when I say the word sales, people's initial thought is probably like on the phone, power. It's not really that. It's more, when I say sales, I mean communication, right? Communicating with clients, communicating to them that you can solve whatever problem that they have in an efficient manner, right? And then at a certain level, it's more about scaling. And again, we talked about this a few months ago. So, that's where we are. It's like, how do we scale? How do we make our team better? How do we help them receive the same self-development and fill in those holes like we did? So it's like, again, every single level you get to, there's always something else.
Absolutely. It's funny because as you said, 3-piece suit and 102 degrees, at an open house.
With no AC.
With no AC.
Yeah, because these were REOs.
But this is what I'm talking about, and this, for me, this is like the conversation piece of people who are successful that sits so close to my heart, and that's why my show is labeled "Tell Your Story," right? Tell your story, because people see you today, they see me today. They don't see where you were 5 years ago. They don't. And I don't blame them. They're not going to have this picture in their head of Ben 5 years ago. But, when we spoke about 5 years ago, and you said something must have happened. I mean, I was exterminating in Manhattan.
Oh, really?
I was killing rats for $150 a day. Legit.
Yeah.
So that my kids and wife could eat.
Sacrifice.
You think I wanted to do that? I worked at JP Morgan 15 years. I went from making $250,000 plus a year, right? $250,000 plus a year to killing rats in Manhattan.
Gotcha.
In a dark tunnel. Terrible.
Kind of sounds like fun.
No, I would go home. I was emotional. I would go home. I was emotional. I was asking myself, what's going on in my life right now? But I was just trying to.
Well, how'd you dig out of that?
True story. Started selling insurance from the car of exterminating.
Oh.
Yeah, true story. And every week that went by, it was like, all right, one more client. And then the day came where I was like, wow, this is actually getting a little bit more busy than I expected. And I said, okay, I think I'm going to give up my vest, And so then there came a day where I knew I needed to fully commit to see the return that I wanted. But I'd say it took me about 6-7 months. But see, a lot of people don't know that, I'm going into, restaurants in Manhattan and,
Just pitching insurance?
No, taking a rat off a trap.
But then pitching insurance at the same time?
Well,
did you pick up business while you were on the job?
No, actually, I was getting my first few policies from people like yourself who are mortgage bankers, and they were sending me emails, and I was working the files in between stops in the car. Commitment. Yeah. How bad do you want something? I mean, that's the truth. It's not like I would sit here. I'm never going to be one of these people who sit up and make this beautiful story just to sound good. That's real. That's real life. In between Dunkin' Donuts, servicing Dunkin' Donuts in Manhattan, it was, let me grab this email. Let me quote this real quick. Yep. But again, you got to go through your tough times to get to your great times. And
you appreciate it more.
Right. And that's what I mean by reflecting. I don't ever want to forget those days, ever. Because it's pain.
You kind of do a little bit.
You do, but you do, but from a humble and respect standpoint, you don't.
Yeah.
So I remind myself of those days because when I'm having a tough day in my line of business currently, I remind myself, Jude, it's not nearly as tough as it was 5 years ago.
Right. And again, you're at a place where you've established yourself in the business, you've got your book, you've got new people coming in. But again, with that said, it doesn't mean there aren't challenges. There's always someone. You can always be better.
Always.
Right.
Always,
I don't think that I'm very happy and I'm grateful for where I am, but I don't think what I'm doing is anything particularly impressive. Right. Not in comparison to anyone else, just to what I'm capable of. And I'm sure you feel the same way. I legitimately think I'm operating at 25% of my potential. Maybe a little bit less. Mm-hmm. And it's I'm trying to just figure out how can I get that remaining 75, 80%? And then you plug away, you plan here, whether I'm teaching CE in my office or I'm doing an online webinar, there's always more stuff we can be doing. And I'm always mad at myself because I'm why am I not doing this stuff? But again, you have to balance with the day-to-day of the business. Right.
Which an average person will look at someone like you and say you're crazy, you're doing far above what an average person does, right? But at a high-level producer such as yourself, you're always looking to raise the bar, and you're never content with what you're doing.
I think this is something... Have you ever read Relentless, Tim Grover? You'd love that book. he talks about Kobe a lot, right? And how like Kobe would never celebrate his victories, or if he did, it was, and I'm not like particularly into basketball, but like it would be very brief, right? You celebrate for a day, an evening, and then he's like back to work in the gym at 4 a.m. the next day. And it's actually a problem of mine. I've gotten much better at it, but I never used to celebrate my wins. And I didn't not celebrate them, Jude, and tell me if you can relate. But like I never celebrated them, not because I didn't want to celebrate, but because one, I didn't want that feeling of like I've won, because I'm also scared, because that feeling is kind of addicting, right? It feels nice to be like, okay, I won, I did a good job, I can relax. So it's like, and then like I'm scared of relaxing. I'm scared of putting myself into a relaxed state where I don't push. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
I'm absorbing and digesting what you're saying, and I absolutely love it. And if there's anything I'm taking away from this episode, it's exactly that, because you basically just told me I'm not crazy. I've had so many victories over the past few years, so many.
Yeah,
I haven't celebrated any of them. And
my point is, you should.
Well, right. Well, that's debatable, right? But I guess to your point, you gave me the answer that I never realized. Maybe I never celebrated those wins because that would create fulfillment for myself. Right. And I'm never fulfilled because, to your point of what you just shared a few moments ago, I feel I'm operating at 10 or 15% of my capacity. So
you had to outdo me, man. You had to go lower on the potential scale.
Of course I'm going to outdo you. But so the point is, if I celebrate, then that means I'm content with where I am, right. And I'm not content with where I am. But I will say that I think I would say over the last 12 months, sometimes when I go back to reflecting, right? When I go back to reflecting, as I said, that's huge for me right now. I'll realize after reflecting, I'm like, you won. And it could be something as simple as, let's use a credit score as an example. Yeah. You know, maybe 8 years ago, it wasn't where I wanted it to be. Maybe today it's 840. The reflect piece is, Jude, have you stopped to actually realize that you're almost at a perfect credit score? Like, and I'm like, Jude, that's a win. Like, so it's anything. It's not, anything could be a win.
But to you, it's just another day in your life. It's
and that's what's crazy. And like, maybe like people like who share the same mentality like you and I, maybe we should hold each other accountable to remind each other that we won, and it's okay to celebrate, even if it means a dinner or a drink or whatever it might be. Because I think that the concerning piece is that people like you and I, we run so rapidly, we never slow down. And the reason why we're not accepting our wins is because we don't slow down. So since we don't slow down,
sometimes you do. Yeah.
Well, I think that's something I struggle with, and I'd like to slow down more.
But you got to slow down. Maybe have your wife help you. Right? She would probably be. What's your wife's name?
Danielle.
So have Danielle. She's the perfect person. I'm sure she knows what's going on in your business. She knows when you're closing a big deal. Like, put on Danielle, hey, let's go out for a nice dinner. Let's go on another vacation. I know you vacation a lot.
Yeah.
But, like, if she's the one that pushes, I think that's nice.
Yeah, man. 10-year plan.
Get it done, Danielle.
10-year plan.
I looked at the wrong camera. Let me do it again. Get it done, Danielle.
It's a sick bastard. You belong on something. Something. You need some help.
Oh, you have no idea.
Yeah. Everyone, comb the beard once more for the camera,
it's actually a very healthy mix of creatine and rhino.
Oh.
It's good for your testosterone.
Oh, my God.
I have it imported from Northern Africa.
Oh, wow, yeah. I got to say, man, hat looks great on you.
Thanks, man. I think so, too.
Hat looks great. How much do you weigh right now?
I am 167 pounds of muscle, steel, and sex appeal.
Tyler, yeah? Tyler, I got to get my weight class down so I can beat the shit out of him with no excuses.
The problem is that I'll thoroughly enjoy it, and I'll probably... Yeah. Actually, I'm not finishing that sentence.
What if you got your weight class up?
So I've weighed like 180, almost like I think around 190 before.
Yeah.
And I developed sleep apnea, and it was really bad. I had to lose weight. Like I did a sleep study, and I was not falling asleep. I was waking up every 30 to 45 seconds.
That's not good.
Why? Yeah. So back then I felt like crap every day, and I figured out why, and then I dropped like 10, 15 pounds. And dude, I wasn't even like, I didn't even look good. I was just like, I look good with clothes on, right? Because my suits were super tight, and at least I thought I looked good. I definitely didn't look good. And then I dropped the weight, and I feel better. I feel good at this weight, man.
So how much did you weigh?
I was like 190.
190? Yeah.
I was massive. Like I was strong too, but it's not worth it. I feel better when I'm lighter, man. Don't you? You dropped all this weight. Like,
listen,
you must feel amazing.
I was floating around, I don't know, like legit, probably like within the last 90 days, so I was floating around 205, 207, coming in at like 190, 191 now. You know, you feel a big difference.
Do you want to do a fight, like an amateur fight? It's a dream of mine.
Are you being serious?
I trained martial arts my entire life.
Okay, so maybe you don't need to increase your weight class, or I drop my weight class if you're a martial arts.
I told you.
Yeah, that's
Karate
dangerous.
black belt,
that's dangerous.
Krav Maga blue belt.
Oh, Krav Maga.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, a couple other things. Yeah, I can fight. I mean, I'm rusty, so you'd probably beat the shit out of me right now, but give me a few months training, back in the game, why not?
Yeah, I definitely am looking to have an amateur fight. Absolutely.
You should.
Yeah, I need to.
Yeah.
Because like now it's like the training's all cool, but it's like I want the real thing. You know what I mean? I want the real thing. I want to get hit.
And you do sparring.
Yeah, but I need to get hit.
Yeah.
I want to see how that fuels me.
It's a weird feeling. So I had this back when I was training Krav Maga. I was much lighter. I was like 150 pounds, and my instructor was like 250 or something like that. But he moved so quick, and he would beat the out of me, and he definitely held back for sure.
And he was 250.
And he was 250, and he was so fast. Like, he would throw these hooks at me, but he wouldn't do it with power because he knew if he did it, he would.
Right, so he wouldn't even lean into it.
No. He just did it to be like, Ben, you're not all that. Like, to humble me.
Right.
Right. And I loved it. I loved it, man. Like, every time he just beat it out of me, like, I was just like, yes. I didn't enjoy getting hurt, but I enjoyed, like, the challenge of it. And he, again, he's an instructor. He knows when to, like, pump the brakes and pull me back in. But he would, like, jump in while I was sparring with someone else and start just, like, he wouldn't even warn me. He'd just, like, jump in and just punch me in the face. And it was amazing.
Where was this? Where did this take place?
This was...
in New York?
Yeah, this was around here.
Oh,
this
wow,
was
that's wild.
my old instructor, Tony Morrison. Good man.
Yeah.
Shihan.
That's
he'd beat me. And again, it was great.
Jumped in the middle of a fight.
It wasn't irresponsible. We did light sparring. So, like, the way Krav Maga works, at least from my understanding, and I did it for years, is that they try and simulate a real fight. I'll explain what I mean. So in a real fight, in a street situation, your adrenaline goes off and you're physically exhausted within about 30 seconds. So they spend the first 30 minutes of the 1 hour class tiring you, right? Just basically making you do 100 burpees and all this stuff. So you're physically exhausted. Mm-hmm. And then they have you train technique, right? Because this way it's like you're in a real fight. You're training technique, the adrenaline's dumped. It's not the same, but it's similar. So you know how to fight exhausted. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we would spar. And then, that's when he would jump in and...
So that's when he would try to pull adrenaline out of people?
No, that's the first 30 minutes.
Jesus.
Right? But then you get like a second wind. And I remember one time, I tell this story quite a lot, actually, is that he kicked me in the solar plexus. I didn't see it coming. It was a cross-step side kick. So it's when, like, you're facing you like that and, like, one leg goes behind the other and then you cock your leg up and boom. And he did it so fast, it was like a jab. And he kicked me right in the solar plexus, and I couldn't breathe for like 3 minutes. It was like
And you like this guy?
I love him. I mean, he's just.
So basically, if I just beat the shit out of you,
I might like it. Yeah. So, but that's like part of the thing about why I'm not scared to do a fight, because like no one likes getting hit. Don't get me wrong; it's not fun.
Right.
But I think if it fuels you a little bit, or you're not scared. So like, I want to do an amateur fight eventually. You know, if it doesn't happen, I won't be mad, but I would like to. And I think you have to kind of be okay with getting hit. You don't want to try and get hit. Like, look at Floyd, right? He doesn't get hit.
Right.
But, you know, you have to understand that that's bound to happen.
Yeah. I think I fell in love with it just because of the discipline and the art behind it. You know, like I was saying before, like Tyler was saying to Tyler, like you watch this fight on the TV and you like, and I remember being a little younger and being like, wow, this is boring. Like they're not even really hitting each other, but like there's just so much more that goes into it, man.
Yeah,
you know, there's so much.
You don't see, like, when I don't watch much boxing, but when I do, I don't actually understand because boxing is my weakest point. I have like tiny T-Rex arms. Like, I've been mainly a kicker. But when I see boxing, I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand the science behind it. I'm sure that you do because you do a lot of boxing, and I'd like to learn more. But it's not simple.
No, I mean, listen, for me, it's like really just comes down to very simple. It's just a really good workout, and it's something I enjoy. So you put the two together, you don't even think about it. I had recorded a show myself yesterday, and I thought that the question was superior and important to kind of introduce to every show and every interview such as this forward. And so I'll ask you this.
Oh, okay.
I'll ask you this.
I'm being interviewed.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you this because honestly, it's probably something that I should answer myself as well. But what would you say would bring the most fulfillment of any goal you can achieve, whether it be personal or business? What would be the most fulfilling goal that you can achieve?
Very simple, having a family.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Didn't expect that, did you?
Well, when I heard you say it, I looked into your eyes and I saw how genuine and sincere that was. That's a beautiful goal of fulfillment to achieve.
Yeah, I don't think anything else can really match up to that, right? It can't be bought. It has to be, and it's not just having a family, it's having a happy, healthy family, which of course there's only so much you can control, and being a great father. And I know that's not easy to do. And
you know what's interesting about your answer? The gentleman that I asked that question to yesterday has a family. And he said the biggest fulfillment he can ask for is to be the role model to his kids.
There you go.
So it's interesting how the goal, the biggest fulfillment for you would be to have a family, and then one who has a family, his goal is to be the best role model he can be for his family.
Yeah.
Interesting. He said, instead of having like his son having like a Michael Jordan or a LeBron poster, he said, I'd like him to look at me that way.
That's tough because, and you can tell me this because you have two lovely children. Daughters, right? Do they look at you that way?
Well, my little one's 6, so I don't know what she looks at it, But I'd like to believe that my older daughter, who's 15, turning 16, definitely looks up to me in certain ways,
Because kids, I feel, especially she's 16, right? She's a teenager.
Yeah.
Usually teenagers look at their parents as like lame.
Yeah.
Parents are lame.
Yeah.
With not all of them. I have a cousin, shout out to my cousin Omid and his wife Angela, who are the coolest parents on the planet. They're freaking awesome. But I think that's not easy to achieve, to have your, because you have to balance, obviously, you're a parent first and always.
Yeah. And
a friend second.
For sure.
But it takes priority.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. Definitely not. Well, look, you're asking me. I have two girls.
Yeah.
I'm surrounded by girls. 2 girls. My wife. My dog who just passed was a girl. All girls. Girls. Right. So there's.
You need some testosterone in your life. Let me know if you want that.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
So I have to now piggyback off that answer. So family. So Ben, who is a potential runner-up in your life right now?
I can't answer that.
Wow,
I can't do that.
Ben, talk to me, Ben. What lady has you? What lady has you thinking about her when you wake up in the morning?
I have an idea. I'm gonna put all 500 of them.
Yeah.
On a show.
Oh. So what you're saying is you're.
I'm a designated.
Wow. With a British accent.
Yeah, my plaque in my office doesn't say Ben the British mortgage broker. It says. No, in all seriousness, no, I'm definitely not like that. But go ahead.
If I was a female and I heard you say the word with that accent the way you did, I would gladly say I'm your.
Yeah, well, you do actually, because I call you on a regular basis and you correct me, and I feel bad for Tyler who has to edit this. I can see him with his head down. He's like, this is going to take me hours. But in all seriousness, I want to absolutely start. I'd like to ideally have a family in the next few years. But at the same time, I'm not willing to settle.
How old are you?
To be 33. I'm about to turn 34.
So I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk faith here. You know, I'm not going to talk religion. Everyone has their own belief system, but I would say that
True
I
power.
firmly believe that everything will happen when it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
The end.
I
You know?
agree, but at the same time, if you want your life to look a particular way, you have to plan for it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say I disagree, but I just think that there's certain things that we don't plan for that happen
Agreed.
without us knowing.
100%.
You know?
Agreed.
So
Jude, now I want you to answer the same question. What is the goal that you want to achieve?
peace.
How does that look like for you?
That my family is more than okay, and we are just enjoying each other's company with no distraction.
You got that now.
There's always distraction.
Gotcha.
I mean, truthfully, like I'm 40 now, so I think I tell my wife, I think I remind her at least 5 or 6 times a week that the goal is by the age of 50, which is 10 years from now, for us to be able to do whatever we want, whenever we want, and not be worried about anything.
Does that include murdering innocent people?
No, it does not.
Just checking. You said whatever you want, whenever you want. Good. Good.
No, you know, I mean, think about it. Think about being in a position where you wake up every day. You know, hypothetically, right? Me and my wife wake up in Florida, and we go for a walk on the beach, and we go have breakfast, and then we hang out on the beach, and we go have a nice dinner, and there's no worry, no thought. No, I got to get to this client. I got to have this
it's
meeting.
not to retire. It's just to have a system that's automated, essentially, where you don't have to worry. I mean, there's always going to be worry.
Maybe retire. I mean, all right.
What are you going to retire 50 for, man? What are you going to do?
Well, not really. All right, so let me be a little bit more clear and peel the onion back so I can answer your question very properly. Where I would get the most fulfillment is to be in a position in 10 years from now to be able to coach, mentor, and inspire people on a very high level under my own terms.
It's funny because I was just going to ask you, it's not technically the same question, but it's kind of the answer to this question, is that if you had a job, or you had to have a job that wasn't about money, what would it be? Do you think it would be the same thing?
Yeah, no question. I find the highest reward of fulfillment to be able to help in any capacity, inspire and motivate people who maybe are just one turn off the corner of hitting where they want to be, but there's a piece that they're stuck on. And maybe a guy like you or a guy like me is going to say something to that individual that they probably heard or have known, but it took for you or me to say it for them to actually really hear it and digest it. And then once they turn that corner, and then forever grateful to someone like me or you who says, I was struggling, but Jude said this to me that one day, and it changed my complete outlook on everything. Sometimes it's just that one person to say something.
Yeah, that person for me is usually Shaw.
See, everyone has
kind of, not all of them, but the catalyst in a lot of significant changes in my life. And it's good to have that person. You know, it can change your life. And sometimes, it's funny, I was thinking as you were saying this, Jude, sometimes you just need to hear it from a different person.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, like, this happened with my ex. Like, she would tell me things all the time, but when I heard it from someone else, even though it was the same thing, all of a sudden I listened. Because I was stubborn, or because of the dynamic of the relationship. Good point. I'm sure you experienced that with Danielle. Sorry, Danielle, if that's the truth. But that happens.
No, I mean, listen, you could hear something from 3 different people, and then one person says it to you, and it's like, but the 3 other people have been telling you that. Well, it didn't matter.
You have to hear it in the right, like sometimes Sean and I call it like second voicing. You know, it's just you hear it from someone else, you absorb it slightly differently, you're a little bit more open. And sometimes that's all it takes. But I think mentoring is, also it's funny that you said that, because I actually mentor. I don't do it often. I think I do maybe 1 or 2 people a year. I do it for AIM, which is the Association for Independent Mortgage Experts. So I'll take on like a loan officer in some other random state who's maybe they're just starting or they're looking to scale, and I'll have like a 1-hour coaching session with them a week over Zoom. And
no charge.
No charge. I do it for free. And because I enjoy it. Right? It's genuinely, it's fun. It's like, I like seeing other people grow, especially when I help them a little bit. Fulfills the ego a little bit. Plus you get some internal fulfillment, truth be told. And look, if you can scale that, or either of us could scale that to something that we can monetize as well, everybody wins. And I think it's fair. I don't think it should be for free. I enjoy doing it for now, and I'm not trying to get into coaching. But I could see you, Jude, not just doing mentoring, but I could see you doing like public speaking, like on stage, traveling. I think you could do all that, man.
You could see that, really. That's interesting.
You could do that. You got the energy. You got everything.
Yeah, man.
You've got the vocabulary now.
Yeah. Velocity. It's funny. It's funny you just mentioned the whole mentoring piece, but I've mentored people over the last few years without knowing I mentored them, and I only realized I mentored them as they came back to thank me.
Interesting.
Came back to thank me.
So how did you do it and they didn't realize?
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I was inspiring and motivating them by just being me.
Oh, just by like talking to them.
Just by being.
These people that work for you, friends, family.
Some who have worked for me, some who have worked with me, and some who are just friends. Recently, I'll share this story. There's a pretty substantial insurance producer that I know. He's a little bit older than me, 10, 15 years older than me. I don't know how old, but I met his son, not knowing it was his son, and met him in the gym, and I've helped motivate and inspire that fella, and this was actually a really fulfilling feeling. The father, who's a pretty big player in the insurance game, went on LinkedIn and shared a post shouting me out,
really,
saying, "My son's walking around with this insurance goat hat. Who is this insurance goat guy? I'm the goat," right? Like he said, and he said, "No, kudos, big shout out to Jude for inspiring and motivating my son."
Amazing.
So think about that. Like he was, and
you didn't even realize it.
No, like they sent it to me through text. Like look what was just posted.
No, I'm saying you didn't even realize.
No, I didn't even. No,
them.
I'm just
like imagine if you channeled that. Imagine you had a system and a game plan, and how many lives that you could change.
You helped me because as you were talking about, you could see me doing this, and that. I thought to myself, if I did do that, what would it look like? I'm quickly channeling in my head and ready. It would be like this. If there was 20 people who said, "Jude, we'd love to talk to you about your coaching and mentorship program," what would that look like? Come in here, and put 5 challenges that you face on the table for me. I'll identify each one for you. If you're going to take my guidance, I'll identify each one for you. If you're not going to take my guidance, don't waste my time.
Yeah.
Right?
That's another thing, is taking on people that, and I don't know how to answer this question, but like really like finding people who won't only listen but also take action. And I think a large part of it is on us to inspire them to take action, but sometimes like not everyone's built for change. That's maybe the question is, or not the answer rather, is you have to find people who are open to change.
Coachable.
Need
to work with people. The best thing we could do is work with people who are coachable.
Right.
Imagine talking to someone day in and day out and giving them guidance and motivation, and they're like, "Yeah, Ben, I know you're right. I should do that. 5 days later, "Yeah, Ben, you're right. I should do that." 10 days later, and it's like, dude, but you're not doing it. So come on.
Something I've also noticed about, it's like the opposite end of the spectrum of people, talkers, right? People who tend to talk as opposed to actually do. So I've had like guys come to my office, I should say girls too, that are like, "Yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing that." And at the end of the day, like they would do it to make themselves feel better, as if they were doing more than they actually were. It's like kind of filling your time with busy work to make yourself feel like busy. You do something.
Yeah.
And I forgot where I read this, but it's like when you talk about your goals out loud or with people, your brain perceives it as if you've actually accomplished it already. And then it stops you from taking action.
Because you feel like, you've said it so many times, you feel like you've already achieved it.
So let's say, Jude, that my dream is to, live on a yacht in the Mediterranean, right? And I'm talking to you about this. And it's like, yeah, Jude, that's my dream, right? It's not, but whatever. And like your brain perceives as you've already accomplished it, and then you're far less likely to do the work that needs to be done to get to that level.
Right.
So it's like something for me, like I don't really share my goals with people. Unless with the exception of a few, like Sean, like a couple other people, maybe like my family, right? But I'm not.
Why is that?
For the same reason, right? Because if I do that, then it's not because of them. It's not even like worrying about looking like I want to brag or something like that. I'm not that concerned with that. It's really just so I don't feel like I accomplished it already. And at the end of the day, like, you can either talk about it or you can do it.
I see. So if you feel like you share the goals with too many people, then you don't want to get the feeling in your head that you've already done it.
It's literally
so you limit it.
What literally happens, from my understanding when I read this thing, is that when you talk about it, you imagine that you did it. So you're literally living the fantasy in your own brain, which stops you from taking the action to do it. That's why. It's different, Jude, when like you and I talk about it when we're at dinner, because we're both action takers.
Yes.
Right? I'm not referring to
Sure.
I'm referring to like sharing it with random people. It's like, I want to, because how many people do you come across? Like, I want to do this, I want to do that. It's like, great, like, do it. Shut up and do it.
I also don't like sharing stuff with certain people because based on your audience, they might look at you and say like, yeah, okay, right? Like, because they don't believe in themselves, and then it kind of like, right? So then
You reminded me of something. Let's talk about the haters. Talk about your haters, Jude. Who do you have? Who do we need to beat the living out of?
I think one of my focuses over the past few months has been not focusing on my haters the haters, right? Because the reason is, it's very simple. I don't want to put an ounce of my energy into something that doesn't warrant my energy.
It's like the picture that you took in my office. Winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners. Right? So someone's talking smack about you.
Yeah. It's just 100%. It's 100% true, you know? Yeah. Listen, I'm at a point right now.
On them.
I want everyone to be okay. I don't wish anyone to lose. I just want everyone to be okay. And I pray that everyone earns a winning attitude one day.
I like that.
You know?
I think that's a good way to finish up on, actually. Unless, Jude, you have any wisdom or anything that you want to share with the people of America. The entire country watches this podcast. Not because I'm on it, but because you're on it.
Well, what about the British people?
The British people, they don't even know I exist.
Yeah.
It's better that way. I left England for a reason. I can't say why on this podcast, but I did.
Look, I would end on the note of what you shared earlier in the show, and that's to just always keep going. And you know, if you find there's something that you genuinely in your heart want to do, nothing should stop you. Nothing should stop you. And you know, it might sound cliche, but it's true. Nothing should stop you. What should stop you from obtaining your goal? If you're 45 and you want to be a doctor, what's stopping you? You could become a doctor at 50 and be one of the best doctors in medicine there is. Yes?
Mindset is everything. You know, if you have, I wouldn't even say an open mind. You also have to have like a level of grit and grind. But you can. This is something my mom always said to me. Is like you can do anything if you put your mind to it, which is so simple, but it's just I've carried that with me since I was a kid, and I still say that to myself this day, and she says it to me too.
Well, I'll end my inspirational talk on this positive, funny message for a minute. When we say if you put your mind to something, you could do anything you want to do, as I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, how can I be a British mortgage banker? Very unlikely, right? Nope. The answer is I can be. I can take some courses on working on my accent to sound like a little like you.
That's true.
And then I could easily become a loan officer, and I could be the British mortgage banker.
You could easily become the British mortgage broker. You could actually be a banker because there isn't a banker.
Right. Well, I strategically use the word banker.
Banker's good. Yeah, because they suck.
But
you could do that, man.
Yeah.
You definitely could.
I could. Or I could just remain being the goat.
Jude Romano, the insurance goat. If you need insurance, all kinds of insurance, he is the man. Clients love him. If you're a LO and you need a good insurance person, this is the man. So, Jude, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, man. Thank you.